Welcome to Mastermind Minutes, the leading podcast for franchisors, franchisees, and entrepreneurs of all types. We have one guest, we ask one question, and we get one expert answer, and we do it in minutes, not hours. Hello again, and welcome to another edition of Mastermind Minutes. Actually, this is the first episode in our 7th season here at Mastermind Minutes. My name is Gary Occhigrosso. I am the founder and managing partner at Franchise Growth Solutions and the publisher of the National Newsletter, which is a newsletter designed for franchisors, franchisees, and entrepreneurially thinking individuals. For those of you not familiar with Mastermind Minutes after all these years, I will give you a quick rundown here. It's a very quick podcast, generally running 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more if we start to chit chat. But the concept is simple. We have one guest. We ask one question or we stay on one topic. And as I mentioned, we do that in minutes, not hours. And of course, we realize that that is very often not enough time to really get into the topic. So at the end of the program, we will give you, our guests, information on how you can reach out to them if you have questions or anything else that you might want to speak with them about. And today, my guest is my friend Ali Kraus, who is a certified franchise executive and, more importantly, the chief marketing officer at Benetrends Financial, where she leads the company's marketing and growth strategy. With over a decade in franchising, Ali has built a reputation for creating meaningful connections and driving innovative campaigns that empower entrepreneurs. She also serves as vice chair of the International Franchise Association, our loving IFA. She serves as the vice chair there on the Women's Franchise Committee, helping to champion leadership and inclusivity across the entire franchise industry. Beyond franchising, Ali is the co-founder of FurryFrans, which I didn't know that about you. I want to know more about that. A nonprofit that collects and distributes stuffed animals to children in crisis. A former NFL cheerleader for the Baltimore Ravens, Ali now balances her professional life with family, coaching, and giving back to the community. And I can say not only your local community, but your franchise community, as you've participated in our franchise forum, which we're always so grateful for. So, Ali, thank you and welcome for being with us today. I appreciate it. Before we get into the question, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, background, and about Benetrends and things you're doing with the IFA?
Yeah, with all the things. Season 7, congrats. I'm
Thank you.
honored to be the first one to kick off 2026 this year, which is exciting. And yes, I have a lot of things listed out there. I heard a quote once, if you need something done, ask a busy person. And I think that kind of defines me and who I am. But lots going on. I am stepping into the chair role of the Women's Franchise Committee this year. So very much looking forward to that, coming up on my 4th year here with Benetrends. If you're unfamiliar with Benetrends, we've been around since 1983, and we are primarily a rollover funding company. So our founder, Len Fisher, who's actually the Entrepreneur of the Year award winner, first supplier ever. We're very excited for him. Our founder, Len Fisher, was an ERISA attorney who figured out how to use your retirement funds to roll over and start a business. So without Len, there wouldn't be what we know today as Robs. So while Robs is our primary focus, we work with franchisors, brokers, franchisees directly, non-franchised concepts, and we also are very large in the SBA world. So we are packagers, curators of all things needed to get a bank loan through the SBA. My marketing team here is actually responsible for writing the business plans. It's one of my favorite parts of what we do here. And then we have a lot of other side funding opportunities to unsecured fleet, all things you can find on our website or talk to me about personally, but that's the high elevator pitch that I'm giving you quick today, Gary.
No, I love it. And in all transparency, Benetrends is sort of our go-to company at Franchise Growth Solutions. If any of our franchise candidates need funding, we sort of just funnel them out to Benetrends because we know they'll be taken good care of.
Yeah,
Not our
so
topic
grateful.
today, but just a question that I or a comment I want to make. And the founder of your company, again, or maybe it's urban legend, or urban myth, I don't know, because I remember way back when this all started. But
Yeah.
his challenge was basically fighting the IRS to allow people to use their 401s to invest in themselves. Correct? Is that kind of the
Yeah. Well, not so much the IRS because he actually worked alongside the IRS to create
Okay,
this
okay.
because they pretty early on recognized and acknowledged, like, hey, yes, you did do something that works and it's legal, and we have to put a structure around it. His biggest challenge was actually other ERISA attorneys
Ah,
and CPAs, which we still try our best to educate and market to people who are in those fields that have clients that this is something that could be really beneficial for them. So yeah, he actually just recently told me this story, but it was other ERISA attorneys that he really had to explain this to. And he told me a story too of the first time he went to the IFA convention after officially coining it Rob's with the IRS. All the franchisors were like, "Oh no, we just put our FTEs out. We have to change all the language now," because they were so excited to make this known
yeah.
to their candidates. And he just really remembers that shift in thinking of it's only SBA or it's only high cash individuals who can buy franchises. It opened a whole new door to opportunity
Yeah, it's
for not just candidates but brands.
truly innovative, a big push in the franchise world. And yes, I do remember early on, I say fights would break out, but there was spirited conversations amongst attorneys about whether or not this was legit. Um,
Yeah.
and obviously, and thankfully, he persevered, and it is legit, and it's very helpful for those of you listening who are interested in pursuing a franchise and say, well, I have some money, but how do I get the rest? Ali and her team are the people that you really want to connect with and make that happen. So let's talk about your role as, the chief marketing officer there. And basically, the little I know about marketing and what I do personally is, and I'm a believer in it, and it's why I do this podcast. It's about personal branding. And
Yes.
and and I think that that's becoming more important than ever in franchising. Um, and I'm anticipating that you believe the same way. So why do you believe a
Yes.
strong personal brand is critical for franchisors and franchisees? But I know a lot of franchisors who personally brand themselves on various platforms that really help propel their company. Why do you think that's so important?
Yeah, this is something I'm wildly passionate about. I speak on it every time I host a panel or a roundtable. And I think you just said, I don't know much about marketing, but I don't think it's about marketing at the end of the day. I worked for a franchisor before too, and had a CEO who was wildly involved in telling his story. He was a deeply passionate person. And I've met a lot of CEOs over the years who have that same passion, but absolutely don't want to be in front of the camera and don't want to be the voice on the blogs, and they want to be behind the scenes, or they're very analytical thinkers and they're not out there to be creative and tell the world. But unfortunately, I tell CEOs that you got to get over it. And my biggest advice is don't watch your own videos because who cares if you like them if they are going to perform well, right? But people buy people before they buy brands. And I'm sure many of people listening have heard that before, but like you said, Gary, it's more important now than even when I was preaching this 5 years ago because AI has been so introduced in how we market our brands and how our websites look and what our blogs sound like. And every time you see somebody's LinkedIn post, you can probably guess if it was written with ChatGPT. And so I think realness matters because people are a little exhausted of reading the novels and the long M dashes that GPT's put together, and we can laugh about it and joke about it, but at the end of the day, people buy people before they buy their brands. And so personal branding and visible CEOs or visible C-suite teams at these brands are really where trust and credibility is built. And so it also matters when you're having your discovery days and people are buying into the support they need. They're putting up their life savings to believe in something bigger. And so it helps franchisors attract franchisees who would then attract more customers. So you're setting up this kind of snowball effect of having this personal image and brand and voice and story that is a huge differentiator in a crowded market.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree with you more on that. We work with, for the most part, we work with emerging brands and startup brands. And, you say people buy people. In an emerging franchise brand, basically what a franchise buyer is buying is they're buying into the founder at that point.
Mhm.
So the more the founder can develop their personal brand and develop it with
Yeah.
authenticity. And I think what you mentioned
Yes.
about chat is like key. It has to be authentic.
Yep.
I think that is critical in terms of how you can create that I say uh, authoritative trust. I know that when we do blogging, for example, or when I do anything that I write about, I'm never trying, I never try to sell anything. I'm trying to discuss a topic where I can sort of be branded as maybe the expert in that topic. People are
Right.
reading that, they trust me. And then maybe at the bottom of the blog, it says, hey, Gary Grosso does this, and there's a link to my website, and maybe they go
Yeah.
there. Okay. So what are some of the steps that you think franchisors can take to build a personal brand that would attract and franchisees also? I don't want to leave them out, but
Mhm.
franchisors are always looking to attract potential franchisees and the right people. So what are some of the techniques, some of the methods, the steps that a franchisor can work on in order to achieve that?
Yeah, I think one of the things even our marketing team here at Benetrends is hyper focused on right now is utilizing content in way more, not just channels of where it's posted, but how we use it. So when I first started here, and I think when ChatGPT first came out, it was like, how much content can we just absolutely throw on our site? It's important to do 3 posts a day. Like you heard these outrageous claims that if you're not posting 3 times a day on LinkedIn, the algorithm's not going to pick it up. And so we just saw this like influx of volume of blogs and posts and what I think we missed the opportunity for was to almost recycle that because there are people who listen to this podcast. There are people that might want to read the transcript to this podcast, and there are people that might want to only watch the video because it's more personal, right? So, one of the things we're trying to do is if we have a topic, for example, that we know this is part of our story, this is what we need to get out about Benetrends or my brand, and we record 10 short form videos with it. We're now going back and taking those 10 short term videos, form videos, and making them into a long one for YouTube. We're also pulling snippets of them and making short clips as GIFs for Reddit. We're writing a blog that matches it, and then we're linking all of those things. So it's taking one concept and stretching it as thin as you possibly can across all of the different outlets for people to find your information and relate information back to their people, to their families, if they're a franchisee looking to purchase a business. So my recommendation is to tell the authentic stories, but tell them in every possible way you can, because it's not just about a data dump. If you have that quality and that authenticity, use it in every way you possibly can.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I tell every one of our clients pretty much the same thing, not with the level of expertise that you have, but to me, it's pretty obvious. It's a crowded, noisy market. So it's not about the more content, it's relevant content and distributing it to more people. I think that's a key factor. But
Yeah.
marketing evolves very quickly. I mean,
So
things
fast.
always change. There's always
Yes.
trends. What do
Yes.
you see as like the latest, greatest trend that franchisors should be paying attention to if they want to continue personal branding and get their brand message out to the world?
So my first advice, I don't have the ending data on yet because it's very early testing, but keep an eye on Reddit. If you haven't done the research on where large language models are pulling information from, it's scary, but it's largely from Reddit and what normal humans are saying. So isn't it ironic that we go to the ChatGPT AIs of the world, but we're actually seeking information from real humans? So keep your eyes on Reddit. I suggest at least looking into advertising on Reddit if there's certain Reddit subreddits and threads that interest your brand. I'm trying this at Benetrends. It goes live this year, so we'll ask me in 6 months, Gary, if it worked.
Yeah,
That's
before
the
I
first
spend
thing.
before I spend any money, but I am taking notes.
At least keep an eye on it's my advice. I'm not going to tell you to drop 10 grand on ads, but keep an eye on it because it feels like an old platform to me. I don't personally use it, so I definitely shied away from it. And that's the second half of my advice is sometimes I wonder like how am I going to be in marketing forever as I'm aging? Like I'm gonna miss like the next TikTok that comes out because I can't keep up. But I think that's not an excuse. You have to. And
Yeah.
so you have to know you have to put yourself in the consumer's position. And I don't just mean the consumer that is going to Dunkin'. What do I want to see on the sign, right? Like deeper than that. Like for example, I had a call with my video team the other day about a video we're doing in a couple of weeks, and one of the girls on the call said, "You know what videos I pay more attention to and I don't keep scrolling? They're the ones where people are walking." And I was like, I kind of stopped for a minute and I was like, oh, I was just going to put them at a table with mics. But like, also, why would I do that? Everybody's always at tables with mics. How easy would it be to scroll past something that's familiar? You think it's going to be an interview, you probably don't have time for it. So, like, that creative thinking of like, as a consumer, when I'm on my own TikTok or I'm on my own scroll sesh in the middle of the night in bed, what things are making me slow down? And how can I use that and translate that to my company? Even if I'm the target audience, right? Something pinged me to slow down, or something pinged this girl to slow down because two people were talking, walking towards a camera.
Mhm.
So it can be something as simple as, huh, that made me pause. Because if you can make someone pause, you now have an opportunity to tell your story. So
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
to get the pause before you're allotted any more time.
Yeah,
So,
without a doubt. But what's interesting there is because most of us we're kind of scrolling, and I don't know if we're oblivious, if we're addicted, if whatever it is. Okay, but I think what you just said, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if we become, as marketers or business folks, if we become aware and stay awake, so to speak, to
mhm,
ourselves, what causes me to stop or pause, as you mentioned, then
mhm.
there's a good chance that we're probably like a million other people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that would be the same sort of technique that we might want to employ into our marketing
Yeah.
content. I think that's
Yeah.
what
And
you're
people,
saying.
that's exactly what I'm saying. And I think also, like, as marketers, if we have something that works, it's just easy to go back to it and keep doing the same thing. But
Mm,
I think if you have, obviously, you would need some budget for some A/B testing. But I think if you have the opportunity to be like, okay, I'm going to go out on a limb and maybe I waste a couple $1,000, but I want to know if Reddit works. I want to know if walking videos are better. If they're not, okay, I'm going back to the desk with the mics,
yeah.
or okay, I'm pulling my ads from Reddit, right? I think that having flexibility today as marketing is changing daily and it is so impossible to keep up with it sometimes. I think if you have the courage to try something new and see how it works, then you might find
You
yourself a
mentioned
step ahead.
you mentioned taking risk. I mean, you need to take risks. You need to fail. I always say fail your way to success. I know it sounds cliche, but
Yeah.
it's really so simple. If you just keep going back to the same sort of file draw answer, you're
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
it just gets, even if it worked at one point, even if it was a superstar at one point, it may not be a superstar technique today because the world
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
So let's just shift for a minute here to funding. Um, just because I want to maintain the idea that it's mastermind minutes and not mastermind hours, although I could talk to you for hours about this stuff. What funding is such a critical part of franchising. I know for
Yeah.
myself, we have so many dedicated, committed, just wonderful people who want to go into business. They have some money. They're willing to pledge assets. Why is and again, when I first started this company years ago, and truth be told, I know Rocco Fiorentino, your leader there, probably for 35 years, okay? But I always did sort of limited business. And
Hmm.
and then we started to do a lot more business, and I thought, wow, okay, so there's 20 companies that are, or 10 companies or however many there are that kind of do this.
Hmm.
But wow, my relationship and my ability to get it done now that I'm working very closely with Benetrends, and I'm not selling your stuff, I'll let you do that. But why is it so important that the franchisor sort of connect and have a strategic partnership with the right provider Um, and how does it impact the deals that get done?
Yeah, so I can hear Rocco right now saying, and we have it on our booth at convention, is we want to be your in-house funding team. So that's the way we like to look at it. We have a great large staff here, which means that our specialized funding consultants are assigned to brands. So if you're a brand or even a broker that needs a funding partner, having that real person that I don't have to go to 16 different people to get what I want. I have my dedicated person. Her name is Sarah. I have her email. Sarah is going to learn a little bit about my brand. She's going to understand what our franchise fee is, what our training schedule looks like, what our all-in cost is. And so when you have that custom kind of well-known relationship with somebody who has some knowledge of your brand, it makes it a lot easier to introduce candidates because then Sarah gets on the phone with the candidate and knows exactly what she's looking for in that funding
Hmm.
landscape. And I heard you a minute ago too, Gary, say if people have just like a little bit of money, one of the probably best kept secrets of what we do here too is a lot of times we'll do a smaller rollover to use that as the liquidity that the bank needs to see for an SBA loan. So we'll do that combination program here. And so our funding consultants are well versed in speaking to all of our funding products and looking at the landscape of the client and what funds they have available to them, whether that be in retirement or cash or in assets, and then figuring out a plan that really is tailored to that person. And that person might not do the same thing that 17 other franchisees did with the same brand, right?
Right, right.
But having that relationship is a personal one. Again, we were talking about in a world of everything being automated, like having a real person here is so important because these are serious conversations. They're scary conversations. They're the largest drop off of lead to close for any brand out there is the financing piece of it. And so we want to be able to help kind of lessen that gap and be a support and be a resource. And there's a lot of funding options out there too that don't include Benetrends. And we're happy to make sure to share those on those calls with those candidates as well so they can get what works best for their family.
And I appreciate that. And I have like two things. First one's a statement, and I just want to reinforce what you said about personal relationships and really the expediency with which you guys connect. I know we do an email introduction, basically.
Mhm.
When we do an email introduction, we deal with a gentleman there named Adam. I can tell you that. And it makes me feel good because it makes us, meaning Franchise Growth Solutions, look like we're on our game. Within minutes, literally,
That's
Adam
amazing.
is responding to my client. So my client feels loved and wow,
Immediately.
these people are
Yeah.
here. They're going to take good care of me. Wow. Gary said he was going to make this introduction. He did it. And 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, I have this email telling me
Yeah.
exactly what I need to do. So
Yep.
that's I truly, truly appreciate that because sometimes people let things like sit there and then the client, the franchise buyer in this case, is sitting there wondering, one of these people, like, do they even care about me? So,
Yeah.
so I think that's a big deal. But just really quick, when someone contacts you, contacts Benetrends, like, what are the first two or three things that they could expect to happen? Like, because there's this unknown, like, oh, what are
Yeah.
the first two or three things that are the process?
Well, I don't think you have to necessarily prepare anything. That's a common question. What do I have to have ready? Do I need to have things out? I think it's a really generic first conversation of tell me about the brand you're interested in. Do you even have a brand? Do you have a platter of brands you're looking at? What do you have? What's your credit score? What do you have in your retirement? What do you have in your bank account? Are you looking to go into this business with a partner? Have you considered, do you kind of have your heart set on SBA or have you heard of Rob's? And then a lot of time that conversation, once we collect that high level, kind of leads into let me tell you about Rob's because it might sound scary. But our founder created it, and then we kind of go on the pitch about explaining that. And we have some really great resources too that we send. We also co-brand them so that the brand people are often working with or with your brands. We'll co-brand a one sheet in a much larger packet that really breaks down what the Rob structure looks like to make it easily digestible because you could probably leave feeling a little overwhelmed. So to have all of that easy to understand information is great. So that first call tends to just be, let me get to know you, very high level. And then I think the best part of working with someone you trust, like Adam too, Gary, is candidates aren't always going to be up front with the brand. They're going to say they have more money. They're going to leave out previous foreclosures on homes or
Yeah,
arrests or whatever it
yeah,
is. So
yeah,
I think the nice part too is that we're your partner first, and then hopefully they become our client. But to start the relationship, you are our relationship. The broker, the franchisor is our relationship, and so we're going to call you and tell you, just so
yeah.
you know.
No,
We're probably not going to qualify for SBA with three foreclosures.
no, no names named, but I will tell you on a few occasions because we have probably sent hundreds to Benetrends, but on every once in a while, I will get an email saying, "Hey, did you know this guy claimed bankruptcy last year?"
Yes.
We're like, "No, they
No,
didn't
right.
tell us that." But I'll tell you, they didn't tell us that because we didn't ask because we're not like on the funding thing. But
Sure.
so yeah,
Yeah.
there is some surprises that
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah.
So all
And
right, so
it's
we're,
not common, of course, but I always like to throw it out because it is the nature of being transparent with each other, and speed to lead is important. That's why Adam gets back to you so fast. But we also don't want to waste anyone's time if it's a candidate that's at the end of the day really
yeah.
not going to qualify for the brand.
Yeah,
So
and I will tell you that goes miles for us as the FSO, as the franchise sales organization, because our clients, the franchisors, and I
mhm.
love them to death. I love everyone. I love every single client. But some of them, I don't want to say most, many think that every single lead that comes in is buying a franchise.
Mhm.
So when they go into the funding, it's like, so what's happening with this guy? What happened here and what happened there? And did he get
Mhm.
approved? And so one of the other, and again, I'll leave it for people who contact Benetrends directly. But one of the other things is the updates, the information that you guys provide back to me, for
Yeah.
example, that I could provide to my client and get ahead of their angst of what's
Yeah. Or
happening
even
with this guy
asking.
is
Yeah.
phenomenal because it
Yeah.
helps my client understand. It helps me because, again, it makes, I hate to say it this way, but it makes me look good. And
Hmm.
I want to look good in front of my
Yeah.
client,
That's the
okay?
goal.
And I will rely on everyone possible to help me make look good, okay?
Yeah.
And to get
And
the
it's a
job done.
cycle because then if you look good, the franchisors are happy and you're working with more, and then we're getting more candidates and we're funding more.
Uh,
It's
it's
it's the cyclical nature of having great
absolutely,
relationships in this industry.
absolutely. Well, look, we're probably over time at this point, but give us like one last word either on the topic of marketing or funding or even both, whatever you want to do. Um,
I'll
so
skip both of those and do a fun one to close it out because you told me you didn't know that I founded FurryFrans. So
I
if you
did
want
not
to check
know that. I
out,
don't even know what it is.
it's a nonprofit that I started with Chris from Bloom and Blinds, if you know Chris Stewart. We came together last May and started a nonprofit called FurryFrans Inc. And FurryFrans launched at the advocacy event in DC this past year. And we raised 500 stuffed animals at a very large get together with franchise people. We donated them to the fire department of DC. And since we've had about 8 events, we've collected more than 1,200 stuffed animals in our first year, and they all go back to children in crisis. And so it's really bringing the franchise community together at already scheduled events to do something simple. Grab one of your kids' stuffed animals, grab one at the airport, pack it with you, donate it at a collection spot. Super easy way to give back to communities. Our long-term goal is that franchisors actually take on the nonprofit and host at their franchisor conventions so that their local franchisees can be the heroes, giving back to police and fire departments.
Well, we will absolutely talk about that more at IFA
Yes,
when I see you, I guess,
good.
in a
Yes.
couple of weeks, because
And
I would
anyone
love,
listening can find more too on furryfrans.com.
yeah, I would love to
Thank
know
you.
more about that and see how we can
Yeah,
participate and also
it's a
see
heart
how
project.
we might be able to be a catalyst to some of our franchisor clients to connect with you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I love that.
It's spreading like wildfire, and people like to do something good. I think adults also love to hold the stuffed animals at these parties before they donate them. So
Yeah,
it's really special. And super excited to see what is to come in 26 because we have a lot up our sleeve. So more to come there.
that's great.
But yeah, I know I'll see you, Gary, and many people listening at IFA's convention in Las Vegas at the end of February. But if you also have never been to the annual leadership conference, it is first thing in the morning on Monday, and it's put on by the wonderful Women's Franchise Committee. So that's my little plug to get you out there. It's a small additional cost, but it does sell out every year. It's about 350 incredible leaders in franchising, hands-on activities. It's a 4-hour event, and we hope to see you there.
I have been to, I can't recall how many, and it's absolutely mind-boggling. In a few, first of all, like the best of the best is there.
Yeah,
So that's always great. The sort of the case study and the work that franchisors can do around those
yeah,
roundtables is it's such a great learning experience because it isn't someone preaching at you. It's an interactive program,
yes.
really. I mean,
Yep.
it's terrific. Okay, if somebody wants to get in touch with you or Benetrends, like what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can email me, akraus, Kraus, at benetrends.com. And personal branding, wrapping it back up. I am very active on LinkedIn. So if you send Ali Kraus a connection or a message on LinkedIn, I will absolutely get back to you.
Great, great. Thank you. Well, as I said, I'm looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks at IFA, but thank you so much for the time today. And yes, you are the first guest for season 7, so that's nice. I think that's always nice. Um, Again, thank you. I mean, I could talk for hours
So,
about this sort of stuff, but I'll look forward to speaking with you at IFA.
yep, looking forward to it. Thanks for having me, Gary.
Great. Thank you, Ali. I appreciate it.